to the Tuesday, March 18th meeting of the Economic Development Subcommittee for the Fitchburg City Council. I now call this meeting to order. Please be advised that FATV is conducting an audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. I ask that anyone else in the audience who is recording this meeting to please identify themselves for the record now by standing and state your name and city of residence. At this time, I ask that all electronic devices be placed into silent mode. I invite anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to please approach the podium, identify yourself by name and address, and identify the agenda item on which you would like to speak. Then you may speak on it for no more than 2 minutes.
Jacqueline Wetchie, Fitchburg resident, 59-25. These TIEs need to stop. I bet anything the developer was told he could get one before he even bought the property, that the city council would rubber stamp it. I've asked before, does the city auditor or anyone else with a finance background review the developer financials? No response, because of course nobody does. The developer tells Murphy, quote, "My numbers won't work," end quote, without a 12-year TIE or whatever they want. And she doesn't analyze their financials. She doesn't negotiate at all. She just gives them whatever they want. These agreements drive income inequality and the wealth gap by transferring money from city residents to rich out-of-town developers. We have a very difficult budget coming up, and she's just giving our revenue away. It's disgusting. Maybe some of you wouldn't be standing in front of City Hall protesting if you hadn't abandoned the working class to serve elites.
Seeing no one further wishing to speak, we will now move on to our agenda. So, we have one item, 059-25, and I'd like to invite Liz Murphy, Executive Director of Community Development and Planning, to request approval of a tie agreement for 533 Main Street. Ms. Murphy, could you take us through this project, please?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair Cregan. Thank you for giving me the opportunity today. This tie agreement was negotiated with the developer and the mayor and myself, with other parties looking at some of the information, so it wasn't just me looking at the information, including our assessor. The property is 533 Main Street, as we all know, has been vacant. It was the former YMCA building, has been vacant for quite some time. I think it's probably on the order of 20 years or so. The property was in tax title. The previous owner basically bought a property that had a tax obligation before they sold it to Waverly and Sons. So they also bought the tax obligation, and they have agreed to enter into a repayment agreement with the city in order to pay that tax obligation back. So I guess what I would say about that is that's money that if we let this property sit and we took it through tax title, we would likely never realize. The agreement is for a 700% exemption. So that means over the course of what we have put here, which is 12 years, we're looking at exempting it 700% of the tax increase. So that's not the current taxes, that's the increase on the residential only. I want to be clear, there's actually planned to be 4,500 square feet of commercial space that would not be a part of this this exemption here. So full value of tax will be realized for any upgrades in that commercial space. So with the understanding that the city may be challenged in being able to see a lot of 100% exemptions, which is when we realize no added, we don't achieve any of the added value in assessed value and taxes related to those. We've ramped it down. We have 1 year at 100, then it goes 95, 90, and down a few 5% until year 6, then it starts to jump at 10%, and the last 4 years are 25%. So at that point, we would be achieving a lot more of the new tax valuation, the new increase on that valuation, which will be based on 17 units of market rate housing and 4,500 square feet of commercial space. So right now we have very little, we collect very little in taxes on this property because it's a vacant property that is just sitting there and not being improved. The cost to improve this building is quite high. It's a very sick building right now. It basically needs to be gutted in order for it to be habitable again. They are looking to apply for HDIP tax credits, so that is market rate housing development incentive program tax credits. And as a part of that, we are required to have an executed tie agreement for their application. Their application, or the application period is, I believe, about to open. So that's why we're here today. I can certainly talk to you about, let's see, if you, on page 2, you'll see that the base value, that's the initial value that we've established as what is the current value of the residential only. That's the very last line on page 2 of the tie agreement. Yep. And then on page 3, you see the schedule of the exemption. A lot of the remaining pieces are actually kind of boilerplate information here. The very last page, actually, page 10, has the schedule of the types of bedrooms that they're proposing to develop and their rent and their annual gross rent that they would achieve from that rent schedule. Do you have any questions?
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of this project? Okay. Hello, come on up.
We have Jacob Zapata here.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Mr. Zapata, for coming to speak. We'd love to hear about your project. We've got plans and, the various schedules having to do with, construction and repayment and so forth. But if you could just speak to us about the project. And I believe that your company has done other projects in Fitchburg.
That's correct.
Yes.
So the project specifically is going to be 17 market rate housing units on the mix of levels between 1, 2, and 3. There's a basement sublevel there that's part of the commercial space. Also in the basement will be tenant amenities. There's going to be storage, things that are kind of a necessity for folks that are going to be living in kind of like these dense urban environments to live there as well. So right now, we're developing roughly 9 two-bedrooms, also 2 bathrooms in the units, and then the remainder will be 1-bedrooms, no studios. All market-rate housing units. For folks that are familiar with our work, we did 298 Main Street right next to Tacos Tequilas, and then we're currently in process at 347 Main Street, which is the barcade on the first floor with 8 market rate housing units above on the second and third floor. In terms of the commercial, we actually do have a couple of conversations going with local businesses in the area and some new businesses that we'd be bringing to the city. Our rents there are, I would say, pretty generous, only charging $10 to $12 a foot, which is on the lower end, if not a little bit below market rate, to make the project work. Our goal is to be activating not just putting housing onto the main street and creating more density and foot traffic, but we see the retail component on Main Street as important as the housing. So, yeah, we're excited to get the project kicked off. Happy to answer any questions that you guys have specifically to the project or any other plans that we have going on here on Main Street. We're an open book.
Great. Thank you very much. I'd like to open the meeting to questions first before comments. Councilor Van Housinga.
So I have a question. The tie agreement is only dealing with the residential units, correct?
Correct.
So as part of this plan, there are 17 apartments, but there's also going to be 2 commercial units, right?
Or 45 square feet of, is it one
Yeah,
commercial?
4,500 square foot of commercial. You could put 2 commercial units in there, or it could just be one big one, kind
Or
of
it
like
could be
the
one,
Barcade
okay.
did. Yeah.
So the improvement to the commercial space will result in an increase in property taxes for the
Correct.
property, correct? So even though we're delaying the increase in the property for the residential portion of the building, we will see an increase in property taxes for commercial immediately.
That's correct.
Correct. And also, the state does offer HDIP tax credits to help fund these properties, correct?
Yes.
Is the developer able to apply for those if we do not approve a tie?
No.
No. So basically, the state is willing to give these projects money to help make them financially feasible, but they will only do so if the city makes a sacrifice as well. So we have to show that we have some skin in the game, that we are giving up to improve this in order for the state to give money for this project.
That is exactly correct, yes.
All right, that is. All right, that's the only questions I have right now.
All righty. Anyone else? Councilor Schultz.
You mentioned, Liz, earlier that very little tax money is being collected right now. What does that mean, very little, or what is?
Because the value of the property is low, right?
Yeah.
So the value, I think, right now is, it's assessed at $447,000 a year. So I'm not sure what the tax is on that.
It's about $6,000 a year.
Thank you. So that's not a lot of taxes that we're collecting on. What I would say may actually take more of city services than $6,000 a year just because it's a blight.
Yeah.
So, when it turns around, hopefully the reverse will be true. We'll have less, we'll have city services because there'll be residents living there, but we'll have less code enforcement services going to the property. We'll have less fire department, hopefully, services going to the property because it won't be vacant.
Has there been an estimate on the taxes you're going to be able to collect on the commercial side of things?
I have not worked out what the post-rehab appraised value might look like, so I don't have an answer to that now.
And you can't ballpark it?
What did you say the cost was for your?
Kind of depends how the city assessor
What is
puts it
your
together.
actual rehab cost looking like? All
For the commercial space?
well, for the whole property.
For the whole property, it's about $4.85 million.
So it probably won't appraise at 4.85, but I would imagine we'd be in the, well, I'm not an assessor, so this is a complete guess on my part, but I would think that we'd be somewhere in the couple of million at least.
So it's a worthwhile project.
It is a worthwhile project
mistaken.
on many levels. I
many
think it's a
levels.
worthwhile
I
project.
mean, we've had a building vacant for 20 years, so,
It's the opposite, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. I have yield the floor.
Thank you. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Liz, what did you say, what was the delinquent tax amount that's outstanding?
So the last time I knew, it was somewhere in the ballpark of $158,000, but interest continues to accrue on that, so I don't have the exact amount now. I'm not sure if our treasurer has that. I don't want to put her on the spot. But I'm guessing that's a yes.
Okay.
168, it looks like.
Okay.
168,000, yeah.
And so Mr. Zapata's company would be buying this property with the payment of those taxes?
So
Over time?
Waverly and Company bought the property with the understanding that they're going to create a tax agreement with the city.
Right.
Now, that couldn't happen right away because with that tax law change, it changed the time period for agreements, so we had to go through that process and ask you guys to approve a change to the length of agreement. So that's now out of the way. So now they can go meet with the treasurer's office and create that agreement.
Okay. And I know I have been on a tour of the property, the old Foster Healy building, is it 298?
Is correct.
298. And I have to say, it was really impressive going in there and seeing what was done there. And I'm assuming that the same kind of, work is going to be done in this building. So I'm definitely in favor of this.
Great. So I don't have questions. I just do have a comment. The Waverly Company having 3 active projects in Fitchburg right now is great. And this is what we want to see, and this is what we get to navigate through. So, thank you very much for coming out to speak to us. I am just concerned, that we do get moving on the, the repayment piece. So I just want to word this correctly, because what we are doing is we are approving the tie agreement, but want to make sure that the, how do we say this, Andy? Want to make sure that the tax remuneration goes forward before we release it. Would that be correct? Or with that paperwork being done?
If possible, I think it would make sense to make sure that the agreement with the taxes is put in writing.
Got it.
But with the tie agreement needing to be approved in a timely manner, I think we would need that to be approved at this meeting.
Okay, sure. Councilor Van Ness.
Just on that matter, I believe so this did require planning board approval. Has it gone through that process already?
The tie agreement?
No, this proposed project.
Oh, yes. You guys did get your planning board approval.
Yes, we got
So you
approved.
do have a permit?
Yeah.
It is a standard condition that all developments are current on property taxes or have a payment agreement in place.
Yes.
So I don't have the approval in front of me, but I imagine it is subject to either being current on property taxes or reaching or agreement on a repayment plan, so that the actual development won't be able to go forward unless they do reach that agreement.
That's correct. A building permit would not be able to be issued without the agreement in place.
So I think that the motion we are looking for would be a motion to approve a tie agreement for 533 Main Street with the proviso that an agreement for the taxes be put in writing. Do you want to take a stab at this? It's your
I
field.
just have a comment before.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to make that motion in a moment, but
Sure.
I will just say that this is a very difficult property to redevelop. That it has been vacant for a long time, and I think
Yeah.
it's more 30 to 35 years.
Yeah.
I think it was last used by Shawmut Bank, and they closed in the late 80s, early 90s, somewhere in that time period. And it's been vacant since that time. The Fitchburg State University bought it at one point with plans, but then nothing ever happened. And then a developer from Boston, Dr. Wu, bought it, and nothing ever happened. And then he went bankrupt. The contractor took it. It sat on it. It's gone back and forth. Before I was a city councilor, I was a board member of New View Communities, a local nonprofit developer, and we looked at it, and it was completely financially infeasible to develop the property. It's a very large building. I think the applicant has a very good plan, I think, to use that space well in making apartments. Punch Brook runs under the building, and it gets a little wet in the basement. That's an ongoing problem. So when we looked at it 10, 15 years ago, it was impossible to redevelop then, to make it work. Now the building has only gotten worse. The roof is failing, it's leaking. It had a fire a couple of years ago. And it's a gorgeous building from the outside, but it's just going to keep crumbling if we don't do something. But the problem is it costs more money to redevelop it than it is worth afterwards.
Yeah.
So no bank will lend the developer enough money to redevelop it if afterwards it's worth less. So what that depends on is assistance from the city, from the state, from federal sources, from whatever programs are available. And in order to unlock that, the city has to put in its dime. We have to make this commitment. So then that allows the developer to apply for the HTIPS tax credits, which it was far more money than we're giving up. That allows them to apply for other appropriations or funding sources that help even things out to make it that they're able to get enough money to develop this. And then we have an asset downtown, because it's an absolutely gorgeous building, but it's going to just keep crumbling, and it's going to just be gone soon if we don't do something with it. So if we want to realize the use of that building, if we want to realize the potential to have quality housing there, high quality market rate housing, if we want to realize having a higher assessment for that property and more property taxes, we need to support its development, because otherwise it won't happen. So that's the decision we hold. whether or not we want to invest in the property or just let it continue to crumble. So I will make the move to approve the tie agreement for 533 Main Street with the provision that the applicant enter into an agreement for the repayment of back property taxes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye?
Okay, motion passes. Thank you for coming in. Congratulations. Thank you, Director Murphy. And we look forward to hearing more. This is a very big project. And thank you for the explanation. I had remembered some of that, but not all of it, about that building. And it's good, I think, for viewers to hear that history, because many of our residents also have the long memories. Moving on, this is the first meeting of Economic Development with myself as chair, and I wanted to make sure we have this meeting the third Tuesday of every month before City Council. So we are in this kind of 6 o'clock to 6:45 zone, and I did put communication as the last item. And I'm glad, Mary Jo, you have returned from your program. I would like to, if it is agreeable to all, to ask Director of Economic Development Bohart just to come forward, and if you can update us on some of the economic development initiatives and projects and so forth, please come on up. Yes.
Thank you, Chair Cragen. Mary Jo Bohart, Economic Development Director. Before I launch into some of the active initiatives that are taking place, earlier today I was at the annual Governor's Conference on Tourism, and it's at events like that, when you have the whole Commonwealth there, cities, towns, Eastern Mass, Western Mass, Central Mass, everyone is very, very focused on tourism in its many forms. We often think of arts and culture tourism. There was a whole segment on sports tourism or commercial recreation, and a number of communities were talking about what they'd like to get, and I was thinking to myself, some of that Fitchburg already has, and so whether it's something like Game On or something like the new Indoor Arena Football League, the Fitchburg Heroes that will be launching not long from now, tourism is not just people that are staying overnight, although that's fantastic. It's day trippers, it's people coming to our dining sector and so on. So I just wanted to kind of frame all that, because I literally just came from something where that's what they were emphasizing to us all. And so a lot of the economic development efforts, whether it's talking about the downtown and the arts and culture identity, currently, I'll segue a little bit, we are actively working through a grant from the Commonwealth for a cultural district strategy or a marketing strategy. This is a precursor to us applying to the Commonwealth, not yet because they haven't opened applications, but to have downtown Fitchburg become a designated cultural district. Other communities have already done this. It's something that we know we wanted to do. We attempted to do it about 10 years ago, but got some feedback that the Commonwealth felt we weren't ready at that time, and a lot of work has been done since then, and we know we will be ready. So currently, we're working with a consultant to really have a strategy on how our cultural assets can be best showcased and marketed. And you might be thinking, to whom? Well, certainly to our local population, absolutely. Also to visitors from the region, people from other parts of the Commonwealth, or people from beyond. And that really gets at this notion of tourism again. And sometimes when we hear tourism, maybe some people think of it like people flying here in a plane or something. It could be people coming from one community over, or people coming just for the day. But we want to make sure that we're smart about how we make the most of our visitors when they come. They may come for one reason. Maybe it's an event going on in our community, or an exhibit at the Art Museum, but then we have a dining cluster, making sure that the businesses that are starting to settle into our community and become real assets for us, that they can see bounce off of not just our local patrons, but also people from elsewhere. And so that was something that was very strongly emphasized, and it just reminded me of some of the ongoing work that we're doing. Another ongoing project, also grant funded through the Commonwealth, is a Water Street corridor study. This was grant funded, and the existing conditions documentation portion of it has been completed, and now the consultant is going to suggest, almost in an incremental way, sort of a layering of different physical improvements. We recognize that Water Street, Route 12, is a very important gateway corridor, certainly to our downtown. It's also a commercial corridor, and for a variety of reasons, I don't want to suggest it's been neglected, but the infrastructure itself, the sidewalks, the curbing, the roadways, the lighting, it's often said that if the public realm has kind of been tended to, then the private property owners start to upgrade their buildings as well. And there are a number of buildings right now on that corridor that are either dormant or in underutilization and thus becoming blighting. So Water Street corridor study, we're a few more months before that will be completed, I think. And so we had a public meeting. Actually, it was here in the lobby of City Hall last month to get feedback from some of the general public. And stay tuned, but there'll be more on that as well. So those are two different grant-funded studies, and they have economic development implications. Also, you probably have been aware that at Fitchburg Airport, some of the, I'll call it surplus land, left over from the former runway, the portion of that land which has been designated for non-aviation use, there are three different pieces. The smallest one, half acre, is now, the RFP is live for a restaurant use. And there have been several interested parties who have taken out the RFP materials. We intentionally had that for, I think it was a 3-month period of seeking proposals. We wanted the duration to be long enough that serious proposers could put together a decent proposal. So stay tuned, but very optimistic that we'll be seeing some good responses from that. Next in the queue is the larger tract of land. It's approximately 12 acres, a little over 12 acres, and that has a variety of different uses that could go there. Could be industrial, could be commercial, could be a hotel, could be a mixture of uses. And so when that RFP goes out, we likely will have different users who may not want the whole thing, but that will be quite exciting. We anticipate that to be later in the spring when that RFP would go live, and once again, that will be live for probably several months because we want to make sure that, once again, proposers who respond take the time to be really serious about it. So those are two things that are at the airport area, but obviously some commercial growth implications. And I could go on. There have been some buildings that have changed hands, particularly in the downtown recently. The Dickinson building at the corner of Main and Cushing just got some new owners about 2 months ago, and we've already met with them. They have a new tenancy that's taking shape in the former Tryst space, and the developers are a family who have done work in Lowell and also in Haverhill. So they come with experience, which is encouraging. And also there are two gateway cities, so they understand these older buildings, which is also very encouraging. And I could kind of pick my way through the downtown streets, but I just wanted to tease you a little bit with some of the various things that are in motion at this time, and maybe you also have some questions as well.
Thank you for the presentation. I think it's really important for the public as well as the subcommittee to hear about all the pieces in play. It's actually a 4-dimensional jigsaw because things unfold over time, sometimes short, sometimes long. Please, questions, comments from our subcommittee. Councillor Schultz and then Councillor
Mary Jo, you
Walsh.
mentioned 3 pieces now of non-aviation land. You
Yes.
stopped at number 2.
I stopped at number 2, and I didn't mean to shortchange you. So the first one is the relatively small half-acre piece that's currently, the RFP is live for the restaurant site. And that's a parcel, if you were to go over there, it's the piece of land that's relatively close to the administration building. And you can spot it quite easily. It's the cleared piece of land. The large tract, which is approximately 12 acres, and then the last piece, which is about 4.5 acres, follows goes along Crawford Street. And so that kind of, as you're approaching the airport along Crawford Street, there's actually land which it's deep enough to have some commercial development. One of the conceptual schemes when we did a site readiness analysis through the Commonwealth was consumer-facing commercial, and maybe that might be the most logical thing along Crawford Street for a variety of reasons. That one may end up being perhaps the last that we would put out for RFP if we choose to separate the 12-acre portion from the strip, or maybe we'll put them both out together. I'm not quite sure the strategy on, I think the next one is the big piece, but I could be wrong on that one.
So if you're looking for a hotel there,
Yes.
maybe you would add that 4.5 acres.
Well, actually, it would be on the 12-acre. That they would, because it's a strip, the 4.5 acre, it doesn't have the depth for something of that size, but it's deep enough for almost like a strip plaza, or possibly a few small buildings that.
Could it be added to the 12 acres?
Oh, yes,
To
absolutely.
accommodate the
Absolutely.
larger space?
But the types of developers that might be interested in doing consumer commercial along a strip of land along the roadway are slightly different than the kind of proposers that would want to do maybe an industrial building or a hotel. So that's why maybe just because the lands they're very different, and perhaps it's best to do them as separate RFPs just so that you don't mix different parties that aren't really looking to do the same thing.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Councilor Cragen. You mentioned Water Street. Would there be any kind of communication with MassDOT to, take care? I mean, we're looking at I was just driving on that this afternoon, and I thought, wow, this needs a little bit of work.
Yeah, and I mean, there's the roadway surface, which certainly gets your attention. I also notice a lot, because I go back and forth at all times of the day and night, and it's heavily used by pedestrians. A lot of people walk there to go to the grocery store, or you see people standing to catch the bus, but the street lamps aren't particularly lighted well, and there's no structures or anything. So it's a little bit of all of those types of public improvements. Mass DOT, ultimately, we probably will be getting in touch with them, but right now, what we're doing is kind of studying it at the local level. Once we know the what types of improvements, then that would be a good opportunity for us to be dealing with the Commonwealth.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I also wanted to make note of let me get the name right, Fitchburg Business and Housing Development Assistance Guide, which just went live. I saw it on Mayor Squalia's page. I shared it to my city councilor Facebook page, and I'm sure that you guys all got it as well. And this is something I've actually been sharing with different, I guess, out-of-town groups that I'm in association with, that basically is the kind of the map for if you have an interest in developing property in Fitchburg, if you're at a certain level of wanting to create a business, to work with a building, what have you, like these are the steps that you take. So I was really glad to see this. I've seen different iterations of this.
This was a refresh, and so it's very much needed, and it was great that, now it's kind of up to the now. And I also should add, just because we have a guide like that doesn't mean that me in my economic development role would cease helping people, guide them through any or all of the steps. That's still very much a big part of what I do. But some people, before they even meet us for the very first time, some people like to school themselves a little bit, like what kind of community might I be doing business with? And so by having this now exist virtually, people can download something, read up on it. Oftentimes, by the time people reach out to us for the very first time, they already maybe have a property in mind, they may already know a little bit about our city, or now they'll know a little bit about the steps.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not really for the layperson, but it is very detailed. Any other comments or questions? Anybody? So, Director Bohart, I'm very glad you were able to come in. And you know what we didn't establish, though, is the taking of the minutes.
I'm taking minutes, and I will, sorry to chime in.
No, thank you. because-
So I will be using the recording to supplement my notes, and then I won't necessarily have them in time for council meeting tonight, but
No worries.
usually you might do an oral report, and then the minutes would follow.
Yeah, well, no, thank you. I didn't realize,
Can I just ask one more question?
absolutely.
When you were talking about the Dickinson building, what's the time frame that we're looking at? Do we
You know, Liz, maybe you can recall, because we met with, might have been in January, was that?
It was,
I think
yeah,
they
it
bought
was,
it in December, just before calendar year.
they bought it right before the end of the calendar year. We met with them in January, I believe it was. They presented a plan that I believe has them working in steps. So my understanding is they would like to expand the business center. So there's a vacant space next to the business center right now. That's an unfinished space. They want to expand into that with their business center. They, of course, want to retain the Tryst space. Now, actually, Coffee Corps has signed a lease to move in there, so they're our Creative Cities lead entity, and that will be a creative space. The downstairs basement area along Cushing Street, I think they also intend to build out as additional sort of small business center type spaces, right? Shared workspaces. And then ultimately the residential, but that's their phase 3, I think. So I think we will be waiting a little while on the residential piece, but they have done similar types of things in Lawrence, Lowell, and Haverhill. So I think they apparently fell in love with the building, fell in love with our downtown, and have seemed very enthusiastic about developing and are interested in other buildings now too. So looking forward to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I had a quickie follow-up question. So the Water Street Corridor Study, I was able to come to the afternoon event at the City Hall, and it seemed like it was well attended. I had some good conversations, including with some residents who came to just check it out. Any kind of sort of what we say in journalism, like any nut graph that kind of emerged from those two events that you had over the course of the day? And just an FYI, I did go down on Harvard Street. I did distribute flyers about those two events to the businesses on Harvard Street. I didn't have time to hit the Water Street corridor, but I got a bunch of flyers out there, so I know that there were people who saw them.
Sure. I actually interacted with quite a few Water Street businesses when we were seeking the grant funding, and that's because the Commonwealth likes to see that there's a groundswell of interest by the commercial stakeholders as well. And so I'm going to be circling back with quite a few of those businesses now that the project is live. We want to make sure that their input as basically what's been done to this point is the documenting of the existing conditions. What will be most interesting are the suggested improvements. And it may, just thinking practically, it may need to be, I hate to call it a menu approach, but a layered approach, because maybe not every single type of improvement can all be done immediately. So what sorts of things could be done first, second, third, and that sort of thing. And this is what we anticipate that the format of the plan of the types of improvements would be. But to answer your question, some businesses did come to that public input, although sometimes it's tough for businesses, to get away from their business to meetings and things like that. So I'm going to just sort of circle back with quite a few of them that I'd already interacted with, just to make sure that they've taken a look at it and at the existing conditions, and once again, soliciting any input or observations that they have.
Great. Really glad to hear that. That is a really important street, and it's the gateway to Fitchburg. And with the rail trail, live, I remember when I lived in Somerville and their rail trail went live, all of a sudden it reinvigorated everything that led down to Davis Square, and had a really interesting effect over time. So thank you for the thoughts. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, Mary Jo. I just want to, I don't see Councilor Kuchar here yet. We've got a couple of minutes. I just wanted to say that the Economic Development Subcommittee, this meeting it's for our community. And so we want to hear from people, especially those either interested in starting a business, promoting a business, or letting us know about an anniversary. I just stopped at Espresso's, and no one could let me know how they're going to celebrate their 60th birthday, the wonderful Espresso's that started in 1965. We're working on Stratton Players Centennial. The museum is working on their centennial. It's, there's a lot to talk about. So I'm also in communication with the Sentinel and Enterprise folks who are covering government and city matters, and I think getting, information out to the public in a reputable, fact-checked way is really essential. And I also wanted to say a couple of words. Porter Dickinson, the last Dickinson, whose family built that building, he did pass away a couple of months ago. He was in his 90s. And just absolutely splendid person. And his wife, Sally Dickinson, was instrumental in getting the Fitchburg Historical Society in the Phoenix building. So I'm very glad to hear that there is this, revitalized interest, and I will make sure that his daughter knows. So without any further comments, I look forward to meeting with you guys in the course of the next few weeks. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second. Motion, I'll take that by unanimous consent, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.